Namaste. Today I wanted to talk about something very pertinent, and that is patriotism and the importance of patriotism. Patriotism in our texts, our spiritual texts, has been given great importance, and it really is much required for a human being to live a successful and a free life. It is said that human beings are given to many lifetimes. If you are not true to your country, if you are not patriotic, if you are not honest, if you cheat your country and your countrymen, or hurt your country or your country's resources in any which way, then it is said that the payment for that will be in your next lifetime. And usually you see there are countries where, you even as Indians, when we look at somebody with a British passport or a German passport or a US passport, we're like, oh my God, that gives them so much freedom. But with an Indian passport, we need visas for everything. But imagine what it would be like with a North Korean passport or a Pakistani passport or Afghanistan passport or Iranian passport. So your freedom, remember when you're young, you think freedom is really important to give you happiness. Even today, as a grown-up, you feel the freedom to travel is really an important ingredient in your ability to express yourself, to learn, to grow, and to be happy. So if this is important, then how do we make sure we're born in a country where we have absolute freedom? We are not born in a country with a communist government. We are not born in a country which has limiting borders. We are born in a country where we are able to express ourselves. We are free. We are good. And we are happy. And this is possible only when we pay obedience to our country. This is possible only with our great sacrifices and devotion for our country. And today I'm going to talk about the two songs that we have to express our emotion for our country. We have songs to express our emotions for our beloved, for our mother, for our father, for our child, for brother, sister, lover, of course. But there are two songs as an Indian that you should know if you are patriotic to the country. And these two are the national anthem, which is Jana Gana Man, and the Vande Mataram, which is considered the national song, which is interesting that we have two songs and we don't really understand the difference between national anthem and national song. And why do we have two? Because most countries don't. So I want to delve a little bit on the history of these two and why these two exist and what happened. And then I'll help you a little bit understand how to work with both of them. So the objective of this video is to understand these two chants. I'll almost say chants because that's my favorite subject. So I'll say these are the two chants and we'll talk about their history and their importance. And of course, like for any chant, I will teach you how to sing it. Yeah. So let's begin with the national anthem. The national anthem, Jana Gana Man, was written by Sri Rabindranath Tagore. And this story is only known because Rabindranath Tagore had a following. We all know he had a following. And one of his followers was the famous poet W.B. Yeats. He was an Irish poet, very, very famous in those times. Anybody who's studied English literature would know W.B. Yeats. So the Irish poet W.B. Yeats was a follower of Sri Rabindranath Tagore. And in 1911, when King George was supposed to visit the country, this is 1911, we were not free yet. The king was coming as the aristocratic head of the nation, and preparations were made to invite and greet the king appropriately. And one of the big things that was done was to get songwriters and poets to make compositions in praises of this king. And therefore, Sri Rabindranath Tagore was tasked with the work of writing a welcome song. So remember, this is a time when we are still not free. We are fighting for our freedom. And most people are conflicted. There is a political appeasement that needs to be done, but there is also a personal struggle of trying to be nice to these Englishmen. So, as much as he tried, Sri Rabindranath Tagore could not write a song for King George V. And he had a lot of pressure. So, one day early in the morning, he came down from his room and he said, I have written it. It is not the best piece of poetry. It is for God, but I think the Congress will like it. So this piece of poetry that he wrote for God, which was later proclaimed to be for King George, was the Jana Gana Mana. So Jana Gana Mana Adhinayaka Jaya He. He couldn't get himself to say Jai to the king. So he, in his poetic mind, imagined Adhinayaka to be God. Yeah. And later, when commentaries were written about this song and it was proclaimed as a song for King George, Sri Rabindranath Tagore never said no to that. He never objected to it. So this is a fallacy that it was paying obedience. The song is paying obedience to King George V. Yes, it was sung at that time. It was written by Sri Rabindranath Tagore, but we know from the account that WBE sent to the Queen. The only reason we know this is because East tells us this, that it was actually originally written to pay obedience to the gods for this country, from this country. So that was the Jana Gana Mana, which we today know as our national anthem. There is a very interesting story around even the national anthem and how it came to be the national anthem. As you can understand, we were going through the freedom struggle. And for many years, we had been fighting. This wasn't something new. In 1880s, Sri Bankim Chandra Chatterjee wrote a very interesting play called Anand Mat. Now, Sri Bankim Chandra Chatterjee had written this song, Vande Mataram, much before he wrote the play Anand Mat. And to be able to give it the right importance, Vande Mataram, for it to be given the right importance, he wrote an entire play called Anandamath. And this was around 1800, late 1800s. So all of this happened between 1875 and 1885. Yeah. So in 1875, it is said that Sri Bankim Chatterjee took a holiday because he was a activist and he was working night and day in Calcutta. And he took a holiday back to Kantalpad, the hometown, his native town. And to be able to go there, he took a train. And if anybody remembers the good old days where we could look out the window of a train and see the beautiful scenery of the country without the dirt and the pollution that we have on the railway tracks today. In those days, we used to have this beautiful scenery. And imagine even 1875, how beautiful and lush the country would have been with the forests and the fruits and the rivers and the flowers. So it must have been a very divine, beautiful sight. And that's when he had composed this entire song of Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram is a beautiful, beautiful song with 4 stanzas in its original version. And later, when he wrote Anandamath, and this is also very interesting, Anandamath was written to almost provide a context. Imagine that somebody created a very beautiful, beautiful piece of art. But for that art to shine, you have to have the right background, the backdrop. Like if you made a very beautiful sculpture of the god, then it has to be put in the temple. If you put it in a brothel or if you put it in a bad space or on the street, it doesn't get the right respect. So to be able to get it the right respect, he also set the mood with this play. And this play or the novel begins in a dark, dense forest where the protagonist is hungry for freedom. So imagine set in 1800s or late 1800s, India all over is struggling for freedom, and the protagonist is also struggling for freedom. And he says, "Will my desire be fulfilled?" And the forest replies, "What price are you prepared to pay for it?" And the protagonist thinks about it and he says, "My life and all that is mine." And the forest replies, "Your life is not much at the moment. Anyone can sacrifice it." Because remember, this is a time where there was Jhansi Ki Rani, there was Quit India movement. There was a lot happening. There were wars being waged. I think Bahadur Shah Zafar was there at that time. So he says, the forest says, "Your life is not much at the moment. Anyone can sacrifice. This is not such a big thing." I remember when we were young, and this is not today's children, but when we were young, and the little history that I read, I felt like, and especially when we read Subhash Chandra Bose or we read about Bhagat Singh, I was very, very inspired. And I always used to think I was born like 100 years too late. If I was born maybe in in that era, I would have been the Bhagat Singh. So it always inspired me that it's very sad that I cannot give my life for the country. I cannot do any such sacrifice. But the country replies, the forest replies, your life is not much at the moment. Anyone can sacrifice. It means that we had an entire generation that was willing to give up its life. So the protagonist replies, says, what else can I offer? What can I offer? Name the price. And the country replies, devotion. Devotion. Don't need your life, need your devotion. This is the setting of this play. And it begins like this. In the end, of course, the whole play is about this person being transformed and fighting. And in the end, he meets an individual who's very hard, very beaten, and very sad because of the constant failure. And in the end of this play, the protagonist sings this song, Vande Mataram. And as he sings this song, it fills the entire room. It doesn't matter whether you were able to win or you weren't able to win, for as long as you hold this feeling, this devotion, this belief, this faith in your motherland, someday you will indeed overcome. And they did indeed overcome, holding on to Vande Mataram. So Vande Mataram was very popular as a chant, as a slogan, with numerous freedom fighters across the country. From north to south, from east to west, Vande Mataram became very, very, very popular. It became so popular that later, when Congress was established, you remember there was a whole entire Congress there was this party that was established in the Swadeshi movement, which was founded by leaders of Congress and Muslim League. At that time, Congress was both Congress and Muslim League. And when Congress had its first session in 1915, Pandit Vishnu Digambar Pulaskar, he was a very great musician, and later he was the founder of Gandharv Mahavidyalaya, which is a great institution for Indian classical music. Was very, very fond of singing national songs in his public functions and public performances. So Pandit Vishnu Digambar Pulaskar, who was a great patriot, sang the Vande Mataram in the first meeting of Congress in 1915. And it was so popular and it won the hearts of so many people that it became a tradition. And after that, every year, the first meeting that the Congress held, Pandit Pulaskar was invited to sing the national song. In 1923, the Congress session, the annual Congress session, was being held in Kakinada. which is now in Andhra Pradesh. And as usual, Pandit Pulaskar was invited to sing the national song. And as he stood up, as he rose to sing the national song, Maulana Muhammad Ali, who was then the president of Congress that year, he objected to it. He said that this is not in accordance to his religion. Music was taboo in his religion, and therefore Pandit Vishnu Digambar Pulaskar could not sing this song. All the leaders in the assembly were completely bewildered. And Pandit Pulaskar was a great patriot, and he said, this is a national forum, not a platform of any single community. This is a national forum, not the platform of any single community. And this is no mosque to object to music. There is no justification for ban on music. And when the president could put up with the music in the presidential procession, then why object to it here? So he silenced the president and he proceeded to sing the Vande Mataram almost as an act of defiance. And he gained a lot of respect for his moral courage. And his sense of national pride and love for his motherland grew when he sang that in opposition. And the song itself gave him so much pleasure. However, this was quite shocking for the rest of the people that Maulana Muhammad Ali should object to the singing of Vande Mataram. And this was the separatist mentality that became later the root of our nation's piety, I would say. It's just so sad what happened later. However, this did not damage the greatness or the popularity of Vande Mataram. Mahatma Gandhi repeatedly referred to it from 1800s right up to 1950. Mahatma Gandhi repeatedly referred to it as the national anthem. And he would make everybody sing the Vande Mataram. Even Subhash Chandra Bose adopted it. However, the only people who had objection to the Vande Mataram was the Muslim League. And they started putting pressure on Congress leadership so that the song will not be sung, and they were bent upon breaking the unity of India. Anyways, in 1937, so the song was written in 1875. It was very popular throughout the independence movement. It was supposed to be the national anthem according to Mahatma Gandhi and many others, except Muslim League objected to it. And we'll talk about why Muslim League objected to it later. But in 1937, there was a Congress working committee that was appointed with Maulana Azad, Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, R. Narendra Dev, and many, many such people who were very big stalwarts at that time. And it was then decided that this would probably, we should cut it down to the first two stanzas. Everybody read the entire book, read the song, and then decided that okay, maybe the third and the fourth stanza are objectionable. Let us cut it down to only the first two stanzas. And I'll share the song with you so that you can understand what this is about. But the Muslim League continued to campaign to dethrone even the first two stanzas. They didn't want this at all. So in 1938, in the Madras Assembly, they also introduced, just to make sure Vande Mataram survived and to please the Muslim League, they also made sure they sang from the Quran and a Bible prayer in the Congress meeting. Still, the Muslim League was not satisfied. After cutting it down from four stanzas to two stanzas and making sure Quran is read and Bible is read, in 1938 also, this is like even before we got our independence, Muslim League was not satisfied. And they continued to raise objections to the song. So when India did get independence, yeah, India got independence, and again we had to like and choose a national anthem. And everybody was of the opinion that Vande Mataram should be chosen as the national anthem, even though it didn't. The tune was a little bit difficult, and it couldn't be set to a band, but there was still a controversy that continued to follow Vande Mataram. And ultimately, in 1950, Pandit Nehru succumbed to the pressures of the minority, the Muslims, and withdrew Vande Mataram as the national song, as the national anthem. And Jana Gan Man was appointed the national anthem. And Vande Mataram still was very popular, so they didn't want to give up on Vande Mataram. So Pandit Nehru agreed to Muslim League's acceptance only of the first stanza of Vande Mataram. And what we know Vande Mataram as is only the first stanza of the original work that was written and propagated by Gandhi, by Bose, by Pandit Pulaskar, by everybody. Everybody fought the freedom movement with Vande Mataram, and we only know the first stanza of it because in 1950, Pandit Nehru decided in favor of the Muslims or decided to accept the objections of the Muslims and truncate it to just one stanza. I don't know how many of us really know the truth about this. Maybe everybody does. But I was very surprised to hear of it. I'm very surprised that it has gone on for so long without us knowing it. So I think it's time that we learn Vande Mataram. It's time we learn our true national anthem. It's time we pay obedience to our motherland as mother. It's time that we start extending our devotion to our country. It's time for Vande Mataram. So I'm going to share Vande Mataram in its original text. Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram. Sujalam Suphalam Malayaj Sheetalam Shasya Shamalam Mataram Vande Mataram Shubhra Jyotsna Pulakitayamini Pullakusumita Drumadala Shobhini Suhasini Sumadhura Bhashini Sukhadam Varadam Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Saptakoti Kantha Kala Kala Ninat Karale Nisaptakoti Bojir Triyuta Khara Karavale Ke bole Matumi Abale Bahubaladharini Namami Tarini Ripudalavarini Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Tumi Vidya Tumi Dharma Tumi Hridi Tumi Marma Tvam hi prana Sharire Bahute Ma Tumi Shakti Hridaye Tumi Ma Bhakti Tomare Pratima Gadi Gadi Mandire Mandire Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Tvam hi Durga Dasha Praharana Dharini Kamala Kamala Dala Viharini Vani Vidya Daini Namami Tvam Namami Kamalam Amalam Atula Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Shyamalam Saralam Susmitam Bhushitam Dharani Bharani Mataram Vande Mataram Sujalam Suphalam Malayaj Sheetalam Shasya Shamalam Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram. So as you can see the meaning, I wonder what was the objection in the second stanza. We know the first stanza. It says, 70 million voices are heard, and you have many million hands that have taken swords for your protection. How can I say that you are a helpless woman? I pray to you. I think the objection was, I pray to you. Or was the objection that 70 million hands will take swords to protect you? I don't know. It is worth thinking about. I can understand this is a little bit Hindu, but we have to also remember that this is the majority sentiment. Tumi dharma, tumi hridi, tumi marma. Tumhi prana, bahute tumi ma shakti. Hridaye tumi ma bhakti. So beautiful. Taumare pratima gadi gadi mandire mandire. So beautiful. No matter who we are praying to, our motherland is supreme. Tvam hi Durga dacha praharana dharini. So here the writer is remembering the Trinity, the three Shaktis, Durga, Kamala, Lakshmi, and Saraswati, Vidyadayini. It is true. It's our country's food that we eat and we get the power or the strength. It is the country's resources that we use to make the money. It is the country's literature that we read to get the knowledge. Namami tvam namami, where is the problem in this? Kamalam, amalam, atulam, why not? Mataram, Vande Mataram. So I don't see any problem with this. I don't see how it hurts anybody's sentiments if we sing the whole national song. And it is so beautiful from the poetic point of view, from the aesthetic point of view, from the devotion point of view. Let's sing it as a chant. Forget that it's a national anthem. Let's sing it like a chant. So I will urge everybody, I've tried to make the tune. This is a very hard song to set to tune. And I've tried to make it simple so that everybody can chant it. Let us give it some time and some attention to learn our national anthem or national song. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I apologize for my bad singing voice, but I think it'll serve you well. Namaste.